Hi everyone, this is Tom. Welcome back to the channel. This video is video number 35 of making daily videos. So I started this process 35 days ago when I got back from my holiday, and since then I've been putting out a video every single day. And prior to that, if you look back on my channel, I was doing maybe one video and then maybe a second video that week, and then there would be a 6-month break. Then I'd do another video, then a year-long break, then another video. So prior to this, I was very kind of sporadic with the videos that I was putting out. And so the aim with putting out 35 videos is, or daily videos, is let's force myself to do a video every day, make sure something gets put out, and see what we learn along the way. And I plan to carry on making these videos. I'm going to be making them indefinitely, and we'll see how long we can keep this up. But there's been some key life lessons that I've learned along the way through making this process. And this video is me sharing those general life lessons that I've learned from putting out daily videos. So there's loads of lessons I've learned, lots and lots of little things, but these are the 6 big things that I can put together that seem to come to mind when it comes to learning lessons. So number 1, the first lesson is perfection is the enemy of action. So these lessons are actually applicable to not only making videos, but to life in general. And getting things done, but also just kind of being yourself and putting yourself out into the world. I very much have a tendency towards perfectionism and wanting to make everything perfect. So when you look at my old videos, even though they're definitely not perfect, I was putting a lot of effort into making sure the background was good, I had just the right outfit, all the lighting was perfect, the video camera was set up perfectly, the audio was perfect, the editing was perfect, the format, the delivery. So even things like I was planning pretty much every single word that I said during those videos. And if there was any kind of slip up, I'd restart the video. If I hesitated or stuttered or, lost my train of thought, I'd restart the video, do it all over again, and put a lot of pressure on myself to make it perfect. But, so I was making it perfect, or trying to make it perfect, but the problem with this is it was causing me to procrastinate and just be inconsistent. So I wasn't really making any progress or taking any action because I was putting too much pressure on myself as a kind of perfectionist. So the lesson here is that daily action or daily, let's say daily, let's do daily videos. Or should we say daily output? Let's say daily output forces action. So by setting myself this goal of making a video every single day, it forced me to take action, which forced me to accept when things weren't perfect. Even if a video that I was going to put out didn't have perfect lighting, the audio was a bit messed up, whatever it is, I would have to put it out. In fact, with this video, you'll notice it seems a bit different to my previous videos. That's because I came to the office to record it and I'd forgotten the battery that goes in my camera. So my camera, the kind of SLR camera that I record these videos on, didn't have a battery, so now I'm recording on my phone. And this is a perfect example of why having to do the video forces me to take action. If it was optional, I'd probably then wait till I go home, come back tomorrow with the battery, or maybe even just put it off, and then I wouldn't put out a video for 6 months. So this forces action. So in your life, if you have something you want to achieve and you have a feeling that, you've got to make it perfect before you can do it. My lesson from this is put in some kind of daily output or a weekly output or some kind of forced output to force you to take action, and you'll realize things don't have to be perfect. Which kind of leads on to number 2. My ego was holding me back. So even with as somebody with an ego, it's hard to admit that you have an ego. Maybe you have an ego. I mean, we all have egos. But my feeling of, these are the kind of things like wanting to be liked, and particularly not showing flaws. So when you want to make a video, you kind of want to have it really perfect and make it streamlined and so slick that people can't see your flaws. But we all have flaws and nothing's ever perfect. And when it came to making the videos, I was getting caught up on, trying to make sure that everything was perfect, everything was tidy, everything was, put together perfectly, and give the impression that I don't kind of lose my train of thought, stutter, whatever it is. And this was holding me back. This is a lesson throughout everything in life. If you are wanting to achieve something or you'd like to do something, but you're afraid because you don't want to look silly or make a fool of yourself or, not be perfect on your first attempt, then sometimes it's better to just force yourself through it. So daily videos, we'll put daily output again, forced me to show flaws. So it's forced me to accept I might look silly, I might make a mistake, I might stumble on some words, I might not be perfect. And what's good about this is because it forced me to do that, I realized nothing bad happened. In fact, quite the opposite, that people have been really positive and encouraging and responded really well to these videos. And that's had almost the opposite effect where you say, let me just put myself out there. I might look a bit silly. And the consequence of that is people turn around and say, I really like this. Then you learn a very valuable lesson, which is you should do it more often. Don't be afraid to look a bit silly. The other thing is it actually feels good to just be yourself, put yourself out there. And even if you get negative comments, the positive outweigh the negatives. The other lesson from this is increased exposure means increased comfort. And so let's say you've got this silly graph, which I always do something kind of silly like this. And then these are your exposures. So along the bottom, these are numbers of exposures. So the exposures could be me putting out video that's not perfect. It could be, going to a social event with new people where you're nervous about meeting new people or how you're going to come across or how you're going to perform in that situation. It could be attending a class where you don't know what you're doing and you're kind of making yourself vulnerable to looking a bit silly. So it's like an acting class or a public speaking class or whatever that thing is. It could be if you're a medical student going to speak to patients for the first time and that fear of, not knowing what you're doing or not knowing what to say. So these are the number of exposures. And along this axis is your discomfort. So during your first exposure to something, when I first put out a video on this channel, the discomfort was high. And then what happens is you put that video out, or you go and speak to that patient, or you go to that class for the first time, or you try a new thing that you're not going to be perfect at. And then you survive that event feel a little bit more comfortable with it and a bit more confident, and you get a bit desensitized to that feeling of discomfort or anxiety that comes along with it. And then the second exposure, you have a little bit less. And then the third exposure, a bit less than that. And then over time, your comfort increases and your discomfort decreases, and you start to feel more and more comfortable and confident in whatever situation that is. And then your ego, this could also be ego, your kind of ego that makes you want to kind of, put up a barrier and not be your true self, gradually decreases as you expose your true self and be your true self. So there we go. That's another life lesson. Then we got number 3, which is following on from the last one, be yourself. And share your ideas. So with these videos, when you go on YouTube and you look at, other people making videos similar to mine, there's quite a lot, in terms of productivity or learning or anything like that. In fact, the whole of YouTube, really, it's very much, attention grabbing, slick editing. People are speaking 2 times their normal speed. And it's very much like lots of lights and colors and things. To be honest, that isn't what comes naturally to me. To me, I'm more of a kind of steady, slow thinker. I like to analyze things. I like to go deep on topics and kind of put things in a structure. And when I listen to something, when I'm reading some kind of advice or wisdom about productivity or whatever it is, I like to take my time to digest the ideas. And so it comes less naturally to me to have all this kind of attention-grabbing, slick editing and, funny thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. But with these videos, I've kind of become comfortable and figured out who I am going to be on camera and what's natural to me, what's comfortable to me. And as a consequence, it's kind of built my confidence in that. And this is true of everything in life. So if you go to a social situation, you don't have to pretend to be something that you're not. You can just be who you are. The same is true when you're seeing patients. If you're a doctor, you kind of have this idea that you have to be a authority doctor kind of person, but it's okay, just be yourself. Nobody in the world can compete with you for being you. So embrace who you are. And a few little sub lessons within this. What might seem obvious to you, or obvious to me, but is interesting to others. So I've been thinking about these ideas and putting together kind of productivity, learning and other strategies for the last sort of 20 years or so. And so these ideas are almost kind of second nature to me at this point. And so once something becomes a bit second nature because you've been doing it and trying it for so long, it can start to seem like it must be second nature to everybody. But a lot of these things that may seem second nature to you are very interesting and unique and novel to other people. So it's worth sharing them. The other thing is, it doesn't have to be perfectly thought through. So I've been sharing ideas on this channel. Not all the ideas that I've been sharing, mostly in these kind of like videos where I just talk about my thoughts on a topic. They're not all 100% kind of thought through, proven, and mostly they're my intuition and my experience and my, having gone through it and actually tried things and seen what happens, my observations and my insights from that. And so there was this temptation before making these videos that I needed to almost have a perfectly proven hypothesis before I could share my ideas. But actually sharing my ideas has been great, because then reading the comments, other people have taken those ideas and given their perspective, or challenged them, or questioned them, or reinforced them. And so I've actually developed my own ideas further by sharing them and getting other people's thoughts. And this is something you can definitely do in real life. Whenever you're with a friend or a family member or somebody you care about and share ideas with, when you share ideas with them, you're kind of testing those ideas. They don't have to be fully formed. They're not solid opinions. You're kind of testing them. And that's useful because you're getting that person, you're tapping into that person's experience and their brain to interpret, to kind of work on your ideas with you. And that way you get to use other people to develop your own ideas, which is great. That's what having a community on this channel is great for. And the final one is I am unique, or you are unique. So whoever you are watching this video, you're a unique person, and that is valuable because nobody can kind of compete for being you. And I was just telling a friend who also does some YouTube stuff, and he was talking about growing his channel and so on. And I was just telling him the thing that I've realized that I value so much when I watch somebody on YouTube is that unique person, not necessarily what they're talking about. Because any idea that you come up with, any theory you have, anything you're going to share has probably been done 1,000 times before. There's so many people in the world and there's so many ideas and so many things. Somebody's been through whatever you're going through already. The difference is that you are you, and everybody else is not you. So being unique is a kind of niche all on its own. And so embrace who you are and don't try to be somebody else, because what's unique about you is what's part of what's so valuable about you. Isn't that nice? So idea number 4 is now we're kind of getting a bit more onto actually making videos. And this is that iteration leads to quality. What do I mean by this? Well, this can apply to not just videos, but pretty much anything. So you start with an action. So in this case, it's making a video. Then that action, you have to complete and put that action out into the world. So that could be making a video, that could be implementing a revision strategy for your exams, that could be launching a product for a business, that could be trying a new workout routine, trying a new diet, that could be trying a new strategy for meeting people and building relationships, whatever it is. Put that action out into the world and you get a result. So this is feedback. So I launched a video, then I put the video out into the world. I see what that video looks like. I've edited it and I see the finished product, and I get the feedback in the terms of comments, views, likes, all that kind of stuff. And then you reflect on it. So you don't have to do this very formally, but ultimately you kind of think, oh, that felt like a good video. I liked how that turned out. People seem to like it. People watched it and so on. Then from that reflection, you learn something. So next time I'll make the video a bit longer, more detailed. I'll edit the thumbnail differently, whatever that is. And then you take that learning into the next action. So this is a feedback cycle. Each time you do one of these feedback cycles, you learn more stuff. So more iterations, meaning more videos or more attempts at something, more study sessions, more whatever it is, equals more learning. So the more times you can go through this feedback cycle, the more you learn. You could apply this to seeing patients even. The more patients that you see what happens, reflect on the result, learn from it, see another patient. The more times you see patients, the more you learn from them. The more times you go through a topic and test yourself on that topic, the more times you learn. And as a consequence, you increase the quality. So the more times, the more iterations, the more learning, the more quality. The better the videos get, the better your skills as a doctor get, the better your learning gets. Whatever it is, gets better. Now, how do we increase the number of iterations to increase the learning and increase the quality? Well, we need to take action regularly. Let's say you do the action once a year. So I put out a video once a year. That means once a year I go through this iteration cycle, this feedback cycle, and so I learn something once a year. Comparatively, if you do a weekly video or a weekly, whatever it is, you get 52 in a year, you get 52 cycles of feedback. So you improve 52 times faster. You learn 52 times faster. The quality gets better 52 times as much. And so weekly is like a supercharging your results compared to doing something yearly. And then if you do it daily, then you get 365 times as fast. You're improving the quality, you're learning, your iterations. So really the number of iterations, the number of feedback cycles is what really matters. On to number 5, which is one video can change everything. So there was one video that I did on this channel. We just put this down here. My perfectionism is kicking in. There we go. So I did one video, which was, you've probably seen it. Most of you probably came from this video, which was about the read and recall technique. And that video has currently got over 92,000 views within 2 weeks. So that video has exploded. Up until that video, I was getting like 50 views on each video. And then when I released that video, it just went bananas, and now my channel has grown massively. The number of subscribers has more than doubled just from that one video, which has basically gone viral. And so the lesson from this is increase the number of videos equals increase the chances of success or going viral with one of them. And this really applies to everything in life. So a perfect example is finding your life partner, finding the person that you're going to fall in love with and, settle down with and potentially have kids with and all that kind of stuff. The more people that you meet, theoretically, the more likely you are to find that perfect person. So what you're doing is kind of increasing your surface area to attract luck and finding that one thing that makes the world of difference to you. Same is true of any kind of opportunities in life. You may think you'll want to start a business, and then you try sort of 10 businesses, and then there's that one business that takes off and really makes the difference to you. You could meet thousands of people in your life, and there's just one person that helps you solve the biggest problem that you've been having. So the more things you put out into the world, the more attempts that you have at things, the more likely you are to find that really, really special something that makes a huge difference. And then the final lesson, number 6, is that consistency helps increase productivity. So if you may have watched my productivity video from yesterday, if not, I highly recommend it. But productivity, the formula for productivity is output divided by input. So we want to increase the output and decrease the input. So if we increase output and decrease input, we increase productivity. So this is what I was doing before. If this is the sort of graph, I like silly graphs. This is time and this is output. What I would do is put a whole ton of effort, spend days kind of writing a script, making everything perfect, putting together a presentation, planning every word, recording the video, editing, making everything perfect. Put out a video on this channel, lots and lots of effort. The video turned out pretty good for my current ability at the time. Then I would kind of feel a bit overwhelmed. I would do some other stuff, some Zero to Finals work, whatever it was. And then it would take me another 6 months before I got back to doing more videos. And then I'd do another video with a huge effort and another one with a huge effort. So you could say the area under the curve, under the graph, if you were to lay all these on the side, that's kind of my productivity over the course of the year. And then with this one, with this time output, so this one is like feel like it videos, and this one is consistency. So even though each video was not as much effort to put into, I had to come up with creative solutions to make sure I could put out a video every day while keeping on top of everything else. So each video was not as much input because I had to be creative. I was forced into making a video every day as opposed to planning something perfect just to put it out one every 6 months. But by consistently putting out a video every day, I built up and up and up and up the output. So by the end of it, I had this enormous amount of output from all these videos. And so after 35 days of consistently putting out videos, I think the quality is higher than my previous videos. The ideas are better, the format is better, and obviously it's resulted in much more people benefiting from all these videos I've put out. So you can apply this in your own life. If you have, say, to study for an exam, you're better off doing half an hour of revision every day rather than for, over the course of the next, say, month, rather than doing 6 hours today and then no revision for the next 2 weeks. So over time, consistently kind of compounds, you get more iterations, you get better and better, and the final product of consistency is a massive output and more productivity. I hope that video has been helpful. If you have any more thoughts or observations or ideas, leave them in the comments. People have been commenting that they'd like to see this video or that video. All of the suggestions are amazing. I'm keeping a good track on all these suggestions I've got in my notes on my phone, all the videos I want to make. So I will get to them. There's plenty of content to come. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow.